Hi there. Welcome to another episode of Angels, Positivity, and Love. I'm your host, Michael Andre Ford, an American angel intuitive in Texas, with a very special guest from Mexico, Joan of Angels, Dr. Joan Hangarter, chiropractor in the past, but now all about helping you see and expand back into the big picture. If you've gotten a little confused, lost, or just need some basic help, business, life, health, and so on, she's the one you want to connect with. She's super easy to find with the handle Joan of Angels. On YouTube, that's all you'd have to put in, youtube.com/at Joan of Angels, but also her website is joanofangels.com. I'd like to welcome Joan to the show.
Hello, hello, hello. I am happy to see you, Michael.
And it's very good to have you here. It's very good to see you again. And I'm very excited for you to engage the audience with all that you do. I needed to mention that she does intuitive art. She's got lots of different services and lots of different ways she helps people individually and in groups. She's done a ton of panels, speaking engagements. She has an amazing show on YouTube you can check out. She also partners up with others to interview guests. So there is a lot to get into there. On top of that, she has a ton of experience, ton of life experience, a ton of expansion, and a big heart, big desire to help others. So with that, Joan, again, welcome. Tell us, wherever you want to start in your story, where are you today?
I'm actually in Redondo Beach, California, heading over to Sedona for a month, and then I'll be in Europe for 6 months and Egypt. So I am on a grand tour. I've unpinned my wings, Michael. And I think that's where we can start today. What happens when one unpins their wings and steps into the fullness of who they are.
And so you've done a lot of, not necessarily soul searching, but just a lot of transformation, a lot of change. If we talk physical locations of living, lightening up on possessions and so on, and moving around, tell us more about how this all came to be.
You know, we all have a destiny, and I've known my destiny is to heal and inspire millions of people to remember who they are, to live their dream and their visions, and to step into who they are. So I've always known that I'm to be on a world stage. And I want to talk about this because every step or every slap in the face, is a way to get further and further and further to where you're going. And I've never lost sight of where I'm going. They told me it would happen when I was older, and it's happening. And I was offered an opportunity by my friend Neil with Portal to Ascension. I'm now director of all of his productions, and I get to travel around the world. I'm taking 2 tours to Egypt. I'm going to be speaking on a stage in Glastonbury. I can't even tell you, how exciting that is for me, because ever since I saw my vision when I was 30, I've just seen myself on the world stage. So I'm living now something I set in motion many years ago. Some dreams take longer to unfold. Your big dreams may, but you're being trained every step of the way. And so I'm emerging from a cocoon. I lived for 7 years in the desert. My guide said, Joan, move to the desert so you could hear us better. And after 7 years, it was like, well, I'm feeling stuck in the desert now. How do I get out? And when Neil came and offered me this opportunity, I took it. And I said yes. And that's another big lesson, how we say yes. It's our yeses that open up the doors to our transformation. And so I'm listening to the call. And that's what I do. I've always listened to the call. When I was 25, I was at a seminar in Los Angeles, and it was a spiritual group, and I said, what am I supposed to do with my life? And I heard a voice that said, go to chiropractic school. I thought the whole room heard it. It was loud as day, go to chiropractic school. And I went the next day and enrolled. I'm a good student. I like to listen to that voice. That voice has always been clear for me.
Oh, I love it. So when did you first hear that voice? When did you start to fully appreciate it and realize it was, time to slow down whatever you're doing on the externals, and to listen to it and to take that advice? And how do you describe it? Do you describe it as galactic, angels, your higher self, a combination of all the above, some guides, or just your inner wisdom?
I honestly think it's all of the above. There are times when I know it's the star beings. I have a tall white that works with me, it's and Arcturians that work with me. They've been working with me all week. I've been feeling them really intensely, but other times I'm working with departed loved ones sometimes, or my guides and my angels, a lot with my angels. But the question that it was more like, how did I turn to this? And I was on a very high spiritual path for a while as a chiropractor. And then I had a relationship that took me down a deep and dark road. When I finished with that relationship, I came out, I can't even believe I'm mentioning it, and I wrote a book called The Miracle Makers Club because my kids and I lost everything. And we turned to each other. They were my mastermind group. I had been teaching mastermind, I had been very successful, lost everything. And all I had was my 10-year-old and my 8-year-old to mastermind with. And so every night we started holding hands and we chanted and we would visualize what we want. We called ourselves the Miracle Makers Club. We knew we needed a miracle. And we also knew that, and I also knew that I needed other energies. It wasn't just that, and it worked out for us that everything we put out, we got. But I could fast forward to you and tell you that I was again in another moment of despair. And I said, I need help. And it was Halloween 2013. And my guide said to me, we'll paint 33 angels in 30 days. I had a lot of art supplies right then. And I said, well, this is what I was going to say. I said, I don't do eyes. That's really ridiculous. Because at that point, that's what I had been doing when they were trying to help me. And I was like, not listening. So they said it again. And I said, oh God, 33 paintings. Can you imagine how that's going to smell? All that work. I'm a human, right? And then they said it a third time. And Michael, the third time that they let me know that this would not be coming around again. If I wanted that transformation in my life, I'd have to say yes. And that was so scary to me. It was like that moment, that aha moment, that if it's meant to be, it's up to me. And I did say yes, and they came in like a whoosh painting, and it changed my life. It totally was the beginning of the huge transformation for me.
And
I learned.
Yep. I've seen your
I learned.
artwork, and we'll get right back to the some of the lessons, the takeaways from that. I've seen some of your art. I've seen a lot of your artwork, but I never asked what the medium, the method is. Is it acrylic, watercolor? It's not watercolor, oil, and so on. Can you just tell us a little bit of the mix that you use from back then to today? And again, this can be found on your website, joanofangels.com.
So I've gone through a lot of changes with the art. I'm redoing it. So by the end of the year, I'll have a lot of the art back, new art. So I began with oils because that's what I had, but I quickly moved to acrylics because they dried faster. And I was on a roll to do 33 angels in 30 days. I now do, though, because I'm traveling so much, I've taken a lot of my art and then I start to digitalize it. So I take some of the art and then new art comes out of it, and now adding the AI to it. My new art is interdimensional. I would say my new art is what it's like to live interdimensionally, like what even your home would look like, where you would walk, the environment. You could literally see yourself in this other plane. And I'm also doing soul essence awareness energies. So I'll do a session with a person, and then I'll go in and I'll create art that will reflect their soul essence. A lot of my art has the energy of I'm an oracle. And as an oracle, I bring in ancient wisdom, ancient essences, and ancient feels. And the art is a physical representation for people of their soul essence, so they don't forget. Because it's so easy to forget you're a divine being when you're walking around in your human form.
Yeah, being human means some thinking, and a lot of my problem is, my situation is, it happened to me getting a little bit lost, and sometimes it's important to get outside help. And so again, a person can come to you for an hour session in which you're going to paint the landscape for them, so to speak, how to remember the bigger picture, how to remember their bigger selves, and maybe to connect the two together.
Something like that, yeah. And I'll tell you that it just doesn't happen overnight. Finding who you are is a process. It's an unpeeling of multi-level onion. You're an onion. Think of it that way. You're a beautiful rose. And as we start to, petal, take out each petal, we understand the fullness of all these lifetimes, or all the meanings of why you're here, and what gifts you really do have, and why it's important you wake up and remember. And I have a unique gift, Michael. I have a gift that helps people feel good about themselves. I can't help it. I call it wing fluffing. You know, the angels taught me how to see people's wings and how to help them fluff them. And I guess, as a that's what I like to do. I'm a mentor. I help people feel good about themselves. I literally fluff your wings. I teach you how to hold the power that's within you, how you can embrace it and pull in and remember what you're a master of. Because I honestly believe that those of us who are waking up came here. We were volunteered to be here, but our mission was known, and it was guaranteed we were going to complete it and do it this life. Guaranteed, if you said yes. Now, if you're saying no, you're not going to get that. But if you're starting to say yes, you're guaranteed to, and you continue to say yes, bring me more, you will wake up. You will find you're like this most incredible rose. I didn't know I'd find that I'm a Joan of Angels. That wasn't exactly what I thought I would find. I was wondering, oh, I must have some exotic name besides Joan. Now, I always thought I was Joan of Arc, though, I will confess. I have a Joan of Arc syndrome, I'm going to call it. I always thought I was Joan of Arc. If I could just be an angel, how could I be like Joan of Arc? Would I be able to so believe in my connection to God that I could sacrifice myself or expose myself in those ways?
So, okay, angels, we've got all types of audience viewers from all over the world and watching this years from now. Let's back up to angels. We've obviously got mutual interest in angels. We've obviously talked to angels, heard angels, seen angels, done stuff together even before today or before the show even. What can you say to the person? Let's tackle it this way. Do angels exist?
Oh my God, of course they exist. That's like saying, does this card exist? Or of course angels exist. They exist and they're right next to us. What doesn't exist always is a way for us to remove the veil across our eyes and open up our vision and our hearing to see, touch, smell, and feel them. Now, one of the things I notice about your photography is that you capture, one day someone called me angles of light, Joan of Angels,
Ooh.
angles of light. And as I'm looking at your art, I think these are angles of light. These are the other form of angels when they're in vibration. Angels don't always come out, guys, with full wings, dressed like that. Sometimes there's no wings whatsoever, or they could look like the little old man on the street, or they can come in another form. So we can't really be addicted to the form of the angelic frequency. Like, I'm wearing my wings today so that you all can recognize me, that there's no doubt, and my crown so that Joan of Angels is in the house.
And I love that background. It's very beautiful. So angels are here for us, no matter where you're at on the curve. You're still having a hard time grasping any of this you've had your own experiences. It doesn't take your SUV rolling over 6 times and, you barely survived and you had some miraculous near-death experience encounter, which, it is what it is. But you can be anywhere in between those two, from skeptic to, ooh, I'm not sure. What does it all mean in the big picture? Is it just more time in the heart, more gentleness, kindness, compassion? How do you describe what's ahead for all of us in a gentler way if we just relax a little on the thinking? What's ahead for us?
Well, I have to say something. We came down here fully prepared to do our mission, fully empowered being. And we get down here and our memories are wiped clean. The history of the planet's changed. everything, all the rules when we get down here seem to even be different than we thought before we woke up here. And I say that we've come down to a challenging place that's designed to teach you how to keep going, how to become stronger, how to actually step into your mission. So in my case, I hid in the closet. My whole life, I had a father that terrorized me.
Okay, but tell us
And
more about that. Explain. You didn't turn your back necessarily, but you definitely hid. Tell us more. I mean, that's a natural reaction.
I ran away at 3. Okay, I was at 3 years old going, no one talks to me like that. That my father, of course, was talking to me like that. No one. I was so indignant that a human being could be telling me what to do in a nasty way that I couldn't cope. And I actually ran away. We had stairs in the back of our apartment that led up to the roof. I was 3 years old. I ran up. The big heavy door swung behind me. And the next thing you know, I was no longer a defiant 3-year-old. I was a freezing little toddler crying. And it took them hours to find me because they were not the best parents. They were negligent. But what I did learn is that my whole life has been about learning how to come out and be that to reveal my essence and to stand in it. And I know that's true for many people. When we look and we go, oh my God, there is a really good being, and I'm an amazing being. I actually have these gifts. Then we have to learn how to embrace them and manifest them and be that. And that takes courage. And it could take a lifetime of training because we're not trained. They don't teach us yoga and meditation and connecting to your guides. The first thing they say is you must be crazy. We don't have invisible friends. And so we have to retrain ourselves. We're being birthed as angelic beings. We're being birthed as higher frequency beings. And the trick is that some people never wake up to that level. But all of you listening to this, you have that activation happening. And know that there are realms and realms beyond what you know. And if you're willing to say, maybe I don't know everything, and begin to say, what is unexplainable? Like I always have people do lists. This particular list is a list of things that have happened to me that I could never explain. Really weird coincidences that happen. Now, I know the explanation. I ran off and I enrolled in chiropractic school that very next day. And that night I got home and there was a check for $864 that came from my grandfather's insurance that when he died, he left me $864. It came that very day I enrolled in chiropractic school. What was my tuition? $864. So we get confirmations. And this process of awakening is one confirmation after another. But it doesn't come until you say yes.
So the universe is bigger than we can ever fathom, realize. But first, we just even have to give that statement a chance. We have to get past our own limits, our thinking, and even spot our own limits and thinking just this much and roll the dice a little. And then tell us more about this. You're doing great on the laying it out for us a little bit.
Well, I love the way you're leading us into this, but it's really about trusting that there's some. So for the non-believers out there, listen, it's not, I don't care if you believe or not, honestly. It's the believers who are getting the juice, who are experiencing having their light turned on and having these angels talking to them and having these great experiences. You could choose to stay in the dark as long as you'd like, but I'm suggesting that if you're curious, like it has to do with the curiosity gene and the fact that something doesn't add up. The first key to reality testing is, that really doesn't add up. John didn't know I'd be at Starbucks at exactly 9 a.m. today, but there he was. And I have been thinking about him every day for the last week. And he just showed up. Now, in the world of coincidences are confirmations that the universe is getting our thoughts. Now, even if it takes a week, because you might be new at this. So that is one of my chief takeaways. But I'm really happy because the other day, I'm going to give you a good example. I'm on this world tour and I'm going to Sedona to speak next week. And I thought, I'd really like to stay in Sedona for a month. I don't like this moving around a lot. I want to stay in Sedona for a month. I want to be right in front of Thunder Mountain because I have a connection to Sir Thunder and the God Thunder. And I want to be in a beautiful home and, just taken care of. And I got that phone call by the next day, and I have a month in Sedona post conference. Exactly what I wanted. Now, when you start practicing this and you write it down and you went, God, I asked for this and it happened, something different is happening because the angelic high vibrational world works on frequency and vibration. And you put it out in the universe, depending on where your vibe is. And the more you put it out, the faster the turnaround becomes.
Now, no matter how much regimented thinking, how much routine we're actually doing, let's say someone's not shut down or closed off, but this is a stretch for them. If they want, can't they go and look very closely at some of their patterns and getting away from the patterns of up here? They're still practicing this at some level, because if they happen to be, they're a business person, a lawyer, they're working 100-hour weeks, but they've got this little side hobby, growing orchids or art or music, or they sing in the shower, they walk their dog. There's a little bit of sunshine coming in, because if they take a look at that, they're connecting the same parallel way in a micro way. And if they can only appreciate that that is the level of difficulty, wouldn't that be an opening for them to sort of blow it out across the board in all sections of their life? I'm saying if someone's working really hard, they're not really allowing for more flow, creativity, universe, angels, help, allowing for this extra dimensional, interdimensional existence, they're still experiencing, even if they're unconscious or however you want to describe it, they've got a lot more thinking, a lot more suffering. They've got, my bills are, my problem is, my situation is this, my drama is this, I don't like John over there, a lot of hubbub going on. Most of us still have interests and passion in some way, a series of books, a series of movies where they let go to participate in something more out of here. So wouldn't that be almost like a breadcrumb trail that could help open up that vibration a little bit?
It could be. There's a lot of breadcrumbs that reach out. I'm thinking John Gray, men are from Mars, women are from Venus. It's another breadcrumb. But not everyone's even led that way. Because you're guided to read books, or you're guided to be on this show if you have an interest in Michael or Joan, or you have an interest in angels or in that, and you're not even going to attempt it if that's not in your field. I'll give you an example. Oh my God. So I have cousins that are very famous attorneys and very famous stock people and writers, but I go by the name Joan of Angels. They don't even acknowledge me. And I was on LinkedIn one day and I was reading my cousin's son's profile, chairman of this board and this and this. And I go, well, of course, no wonder they don't answer my messages on social media. They don't want to be associated with Joan of Angels. That's so out of the realm of the boardroom in the stocks. However, there is usually often one or two intuitives stuck in on these, who really understand the power and who have the courage to bring in an intuitive to help guide the board. It's about opening up to the fact that there's two levels of decision making. One is your conscious mind, your logical mind, and getting all the opinions of everyone else and the scientific world. But what they're showing is that it's your gut that really knows the answer. And that your gut is your key.
I'd even make the argument that the conscious mind, the scientific mind, is actually the unconscious side, because it's just stuck in knowledge that eventually changes. Look at scientific discoveries. Wait a week, it changes. There's a bigger discovery. Everything's constant change. So it's really not about knowledge. The knowledge that we're talking about is fixed, like a snapshot. It precludes possibility. And so to me, this is more about expansion, tapping into the change in a way that helps you grow. And I guess what I was trying to say earlier would be the heart. Most of us have a pretty intact heart, although with enough drama, and this is my life story, and this happened to me, it's going to be hidden under a lot of dust bunnies. If you can find a way that you can find that your heart operates fantastic, to me, that's the little ray of light that says, hey, when you flip a light switch, all all the skills involved in flipping the light switch is, to me, all the skills you need to get to hear and to open up and to do basic listening, basic feeling, seeing angels. There's photographs of angels you can see full on, you can hear, but it's nothing super complex. It's going to seem like it, and we're going to talk quite a bit today in a way that's going to, I mean, it could be 50 years, these journeys, but in another sense, it can be like that. So I'm an enthusiastic, there's no limits type person. So forgive trying to paint it quickly here. But tell us more about what can a person do maybe to just start pumping the brakes. So we're not talking straight to the heart, straight to connecting to all interdimensionally, multidimensionally, universe, angels, and everything. But what can we do just to start slowing down a little, to just allow for a little more breathing, a little more interacting with the universe, getting out of the work stress?
Well, okay, so you hit it on the nail. I mean, you have to slow down to listen. When you're in a type A lifestyle, slowing down to listen doesn't, like, okay, I used to think that ascension, spiritual growth was like, as a type A person, I would think, okay, I'm on the fast track, got to elbow everyone else out of the way so I can get there first, right? And that's of course contraindicated when you realize there's millions of people in front, millions of people on every side, millions of people behind you. It's actually a process. So there's a mental shift that has to happen. And I do believe it either happens because you're in trouble and an angel appears and you see a UFO, something that you cannot explain away, number one. So that could happen really fast and make a believer out of you, or it's a slow process of waking up. And one step leads to the next and to the next. And some people, I'm not here to wake up everyone, although I know I am. I was told that I'm here to raise the vibratory frequency of every human on the planet, and I agreed not to leave until that happens. So I am invested, but how people align themselves is a process, and we all have codes to be activated. We all have the potential.
And talk to us about
desire.
Yeah, and talk to us about free will. Free will is absolutely paramount. So a person's good where they are right now, regardless, in one sense. But talk to us about how there's always more growth, happiness, fun, more heart available anytime they choose.
I have two stories about free will. Okay. Number one, I went to a palm reader in 2016 at the Bhakti Fest. He said, Joan, did you know you were supposed to be famous, but you blew it? Okay. Sure that you can imagine what that felt like, Michael. Like, he's looking at my palm and he says, you blew it. And I knew exactly what he was talking about because I knew exactly when that should have happened from my chiropractic years and what track I was on. And I chose to wander off with that bad relationship that ended up leaving me homeless and destitute so that I could rise again. Obviously, that was destined, but man, that was painful. Okay. So my free will took me on a very dark, hard path. That's number one. The second time my free will activated, well, I guess they want me to tell you about it. I was ready to jump off the Golden Gate Bridge. I did not reach my goals. I had two young kids. I was destitute. This was not, I couldn't see the big picture. I was miserable, and I go and I'm sitting on the bridge and my guides come to me. I close my eyes. I'm afraid of heights, just so you know. So that's a very hard scenario, just to sit near the bridge. I'm on the bridge. 13 guides are surrounding me in my vision. And I'm sitting there in the middle of the circle of 13 guides. And it was like, well, Joan, how was your experience down there? And I had to tell them that I failed. It was too hard. I couldn't do it. And I'm sitting there going, well, lousy boyfriend, blah, 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 blah. I had 101 excuses. Now, Michael, you're laughing. Can you imagine sitting in a room telling your guides you couldn't do it? I couldn't get my mission off the ground. Okay? So that discussion so mortified me and changed my life. So changed my life, Michael, that I turned around, went home, cried for 3 days, and I got my big girl pants on. You know how they say it. I just got my wings to at least work a tiny bit, and I put my life in God's hands and said, okay, help. And I never lost sight of my purpose after that. Never, ever lost sight of my purpose.
That added to your personal life story, your foundation, upon which now, I don't know, you can go for bigger heights or so on. So I guess the way I'd say this for folks listening is when stuff happens to you, even if it's not pleasant or worse, a lot worse, emotionally, all sorts of negativity, if you can view it as an opportunity for laying a bigger foundation for later stages in life. You're learning what doesn't work, what works, what you don't like. I think this is Esther Hicks' law of attraction stuff. You learn what you don't want anymore, and you concretely start to move forward in the directions towards what you want. And that's what this is about. Your life path doesn't have to be an eddy in a river. You can actually go with the flow and learn to attract in if you want. Joan, you've talked about, whether we call it manifesting or coincidences or saying Sedona for a month and Sedona for a month pops up on the radar. Talk to us some more about how we can have our cake, eat it too, and less calorie.
Right. Okay. Yes. Hot fudge for everyone with whipped cream. I teach my clients, how to step back and see it as a big picture. And as you begin to see what looked like a series of coincidences and see which way they went or the outcomes, you get a lot more clarity on where you're going. And you begin to realize, oh, well, what a pattern. I pick those lousy men all the time. Wait a minute. Or one of my friends I'm working with, she says, I realize as I look back, I haven't made good financial decisions ever. I didn't trust being a female with money. So you sit back and we learn how to look at our patterns, then that gives us a handle on where we go off track. So if we think of this, we're born, we have a life path, a contract, agreements that we're going to be Joan of Angels, say, just for the heck of it. And then we also have a whole scheme of events that are here to design to teach you not to be Joan of Angels. Because why? Because it's a different discussion, but that's what goes on. So you have two forces. You have you to be Joan of Angels, all these guys. You have the counter force. Nope, we're going to throw everything at her so that she doesn't even remember she's an angel. She should really not even remember that she can stand up. The beginning part of my life, that side was winning. I believed it. But we all have it. It's a game, it's a movie, it's a theater, it's a drama, all designed to help you get stronger, to really start to get your clarity, to start to get those wings up so that the next time someone comes and offers you an investment that's so good, too good to be true, but you leaped at it the last time and you're still paying the debt of that, you already know, oh, wait, I've been through that pattern before. I'm going to say no.
But
if
you're
lucky,
Joan,
like me.
Yeah, bamboo in Panama, it's hot. If you get in now, I guarantee you extra acreage. Okay.
Okay, and fortunately for me,
Yep.
I had someone who, on his deathbed, he said, Joan, I'm going to be with you when I pass. He says, you'll know you're making bad decisions. Because I said, how am I going to know? He said, trust that feeling in your stomach. When you get that knot in your stomach, you will know it's me. And about 2 months after he died, that knot, I had a terrible knot, and I was about to I had just given $50,000 to put in some investment. That, thank God, that knot and him went together, and I called and got my money back. But this paying attention, we have clues, but we're trained to not pay attention.
Now you hit the nail on the head. Paying attention is what this is all about. We're not really telling anybody any one way they have to live their life, but if they can slow down and pay attention, that'd probably be the top bit of advice. Think of all the Hollywood movies that are out there that have that metaphor. You are almost looking down at your shoes only, you never look up, or you're doing the same routine day in, day out. It could be Total Recall. Schwarzenegger or the remake, Colin Farrell, I think it is, the European UK actor. You are this, and then one day something happens and the veil is pulled back and there's a bigger world, a bigger reality, bigger possibility, a little bit of tumult, if I said that right, turbulence. And so you have to sort out suddenly a higher or broader left, right, up, down You have to get your bearings because it's way bigger than any of your thinking previously allowed. Talk to us more about, again, what can someone do weekly, daily, just to pump the brakes a little and test the waters on there's more around you within you all the time. Just give it a rest on the thinking up here and start breathing, being in your heart more. How can we test the waters?
So I teach a process called wing fluffing. Okay. And the reason I teach that process is that I learned that if I don't go without my wings fluffed, people don't recognize who I am. Now, it's not like I need a sign that says, I'm Joan of Angels, bow down or anything. No, I feel when I walk in the world now, I try to bring this energy of light wherever I go so that people will go, well, they'll come up and go, who are you? Or in Mexico, are you a famous actress? It happened every day. Only because I walked in the presence and carried that sense of power. So I've begun to and I teach you this, I do sessions on this, but I learned one day, it was terrible. It was absolutely terrible. I was in a plant medicine ceremony and I had forgotten to put my wings on and I was a mess. And this guy comes and says, can I help you? Gorgeous, handsome artist, very famous. I said, oh, yes, you can. He said, well, can I help you up? And I said, yes. And I said, but you need to know first, I'm your guardian angel. And then he looked and he went, you? I swear to God, it's truly happened. You? And I realized all the times in my life that I really hadn't shown up as who I wanted to be. And people were seeing the schleppy Joan, the one that wasn't always aligned, when I really wanted them to see who I really was. And that's when I heard this voice that says, you never go out without your wings fluffed again. Look what happens. You get slapped down. I'm very pragmatic. Okay, so I'm not, in my own way, I'm very pragmatic. I heard that message and I translated it as don't ever leave your house without your wings fluffed. So one of the first things I teach people is, okay, let's start to feel how powerful we are. And if you sit back and you bring your shoulders back and you feel your angels with you, you're a team. You're not alone. And when you go out and you're in Starbucks and they're having a fight over who's getting the next latte, and you walk in the house, they just know something's happened. I play with that all the time. That's one of the games I like to play and have fun with. But I recommend it and I teach everyone the process. Because if you compare feeling like this to like this or hiding, that's my job. So
I love it.
That's why
you can grow your presence, your heart presence. And if you're a ball of light, it can expand out and others get impacted in a positive way. 1 + 1 = 11. So that even if it's a store that's empty, you get in line, you go to purchase something, but it was empty. Within minutes, 20 people are in the store around you or lining up behind you, and there's suddenly a ton of business, hustle and bustle. And so it's
right.
There's energy flows in this world. What are you willing to even notice or allow for? We're sticking labels on stuff. It's really up to each person to pull that Sherlock Holmes magnifying glass out and to do their own examination, because they're the only ones that can trust this stuff. They're the only ones that can pull the glass out, do some decision making on it. Well, okay, I guess this could be true. Or if you're already with the program, you're practicing fluffing your wings, as Joan of Angels would say, joanofangels.com. Joan, if people go to your website, and I think a 1 hour session with you was at $233? $233?
Yeah,
Okay.
good memory.
233, but can they consult with you for 15 minutes first? Or they got to take the leap of faith and they just book you? Which way is it for you these days?
Well, that's an interesting question. It depends which way you find me.
Okay.
So on my current website, I don't think the 15-minute is on, but if you go to my link tree on Instagram, it is. You can find it over there. And it is a good way to do that. Have a 15-minute check-in with me and see if we fit. You know, most of the people who come to me in the end, I realize I've known them forever. It's and probably the same way with you, Michael. We've been around for a long time, and I'm very confident now that what I've been doing is reacquainting with all the mystery schools that I helped establish lifetimes ago, and with all of our students around the planet waking up. That's part of my job. I'm part of this awakening team. Just helps you guys awaken.
And let's go back over the basics too, because stuff happens in life. You want to turn to an outsider, and I don't like to put it that way, a teacher, a guru. I'm still not happy with that. You want to turn to someone who can help do a little bit of triage, a little evaluation, and say, hey, it's okay. I'm going to help fluff your wings, but let's just acknowledge the forces at work, what you're going through, the turbulence, the tumbling in the ocean. The ocean waves have gotten you. You're getting bashed in the surf, right along the surf line. It wasn't some smooth landing. You were surfing, jumped off your board, grabbed it, and you got out of the water. You're getting like a laundry machine effect. Usually, folks have stuff happening, relationships, hard time at work. They come to you. What can they expect? Again, a little bit of diagnosis, a little bit of, hey, here's what's going on. Here's a broader perspective you can adopt. How do you help folks again?
All of the above. Okay. Some people come to me just for readings. Some people come and they say, my life's a real mess and I'd like to work with you slowly but steadily to get my groove back on and to align my body, mind, and spirit. I work as a spiritual advisor, intuitive oracle, wing fluffer, and spiritual chiropractor. What do I mean by that? I actually turn people's power on. I have actually done a lot of energy transfer work, healing and I'm a sort of medical intuitive. I say sort of, just because it comes to me as I work with people and feel, but I can't always guarantee that. But each person's different. And some people just want quick fix. Some people, I learned this as a chiropractor, people would come in and get me out of pain, doctor. What do you mean it's going to take 3 visits? Aspirin, I could take an aspirin for instant. So first of all, there's awareness that these things do take time. Instant fix, or do you want to really start to bring in your memory of who am I really? And start to remember the kinds of ways you've served on the planet and really get that, oh my God, I am a master and I have all these skills. I just haven't known how to do that. And the word to use is more like a shamanic guide or a wisdom keeper or an oracle. It really is that there's people in our society who understand and who can help, not by putting you in therapy, but more by reflecting it back to you and starting to teach you healthy ways of seeing yourself. I don't actually, well, I do. I can help remove a lot of issues for people and take away pain, take away entities. But in truth, it's about you choosing that these are the things you want. You go, my life hasn't been so great. This is why I said yes to the angels after the 3rd time. It was like, well, my way hasn't worked so well. I mean, we're going to get around to what we started with. I got my way, I'm a mess. Look, the reality is my way is not working. Hello, wake up in there. But that's how I operate.
So a loving light that helps illuminate the way and helps sort things out for folks in a way that then some clarity kicks in and they can start making their own. They can own their own authentic power. They can start making better decisions. They can start getting going with living more and allowing more. How about that?
And establish their own connection. So I don't know, one of my clients calls, she says, can I do, I can't even remember, it was so mundane. Can I start doing, I don't know, selling jewelry? And I said, well, why do you think you should start selling jewelry? She said, well, I just keep feeling I should start selling jewelry. Is that right for me? And that's the funniest question in the world, because when you get that prompting and then you get it again, and then you get it again, you really don't need to consult an outside authority. You are your own authority. Perhaps my work, Michael, is helping people become their own authority about themselves and recognize their sovereignty, their presence, their power, and their mastery, because that's what we all have to do. We all ascend to heaven alone. You can't take your team with you and say, well, take her, I didn't get it. No, we all have to face it.
I like that. I like that. Okay, hey, tell us about that event. Didn't you say UK? I forget if it was Glastonbury somewhere. Tell us about that event coming up.
So I don't know if you've ever been to Glastonbury, but it is the world. It is the heart chakra of the world. It's got a lot of high frequency energy there. The priestesses of Avalon were there. King Arthur is buried there. Glastonbury has some of the best stores, by the way, ancient mystery stores and magical stores. So it's a person like my delight. We are putting, and many of us have had past lives as druids, as Celtics, as priestesses, and certainly in the King Arthur realm. So it reminds you of who you are, not to mention the little people, the fairies, the elves are all there, and it's all magic. And my dream has always been to speak at a conference in Glastonbury. And now, August, the second weekend in August, Portal to Ascension, it's called Ascension Glastonbury. I think that's what the website is, Ascension Glastonbury. And we're putting on a conference. We have a lot of it, 3 days of amazing speakers. And there's a pre-event tour with into all the sacred mystery sites there and sites of Avalon and the water. So, and I am going to be speaking as well as putting on the conference.
Will it be online, available online, not just for attendees?
Yes, yes.
Okay, so, and they
Yes,
can get to your website. Yeah,
it's not on
joanofangels.com.
the website. I'm going to give you the link.
Perfect.
If you're going to put in links, I'll give you the link.
Yeah. Okay, so tell us about Egypt too. It's not every year or set a time that people get to go twice to Egypt, and you're very excited about this. Tell us what's going on there.
Well, this is part of the scariest adventure of my entire life. When Neil asked me to be the director of productions, and now it comes with Egypt. So we are actually taking 2 tours to Egypt, but we have one that's for the general public. It's from the 6th of September to the 16th, 10 days, 11 nights, or 11 days and 10 nights, something like that. You fly into Cairo, you get to stay at the 5-star hotel right in front of the Great Pyramids. We take you into the pyramid. We have alone time, and we have 3 or 4 private times in the pyramids. We fly to Luxor, and then we take a 4-night cruise on the Nile Princess ship. It's a 5-star ship. And can you just imagine sitting outside under the stars and watching as just as the most magical sights go by? We'll be going to the Temple of Isis, Temple of Hathor. I have not been to Egypt except in my past lives, and we're calling it a grand initiation. We'll be taking you, each temple is another level of grand initiation. JJ and Desiree Hertek are going to be there, and they've been studying the ancient sites. I think they've been to Egypt 27 times, and they are going to be our activators and initiators.
So the Herteks, which is a pretty famous couple, if you follow, I mean, I'm out on thin ice here. It's out of my league, but like, is it ancient Egypt, UFOs, stuff like that? The Herteks have been around for a lot of
above.
Yeah. Okay. So they're part of this, and so there's still probably room to sign up. Again, is that through your website, or is there another website people should check out for the Egypt trip? Because the Herteks alone and some others are, again, you have to be into ancient Egypt or some of the other stuff. But this is a very interesting trip.
This is all under Portal to Ascension.
There we go.
So
okay.
I'll make sure you have those links for sure. And the trip is half full, and we didn't even advertise it yet. So
that's a good thing.
Because, yeah, it's half full already. People love Portal to Ascension. It's going to be Neil Gar, Alan Steinfeld, and myself. You know, for me, it's this grand adventure and a chance to really activate my past lives, present lives, my records, my memories, and to fully align with even the higher dimensional frequencies that I'm striving to embody, is probably the way I say. So everyone who comes is really interested in this kind of remembrance of who they are and wanting that wake up, because we're called Portal to Ascension. So I think it's the right tribe for most of you.
Now, Portal to Ascension, they've done other events in the past. So could you give us an example of one that is in the last year that, again, went off super well, that it was fun, whether you were participating or not? Give us a sample or some flavor of what they've done in the past.
Well, actually, we're having our third in-person live conference in April in San Diego.
Oh, okay.
So
There you go.
conferences with Portal to Ascension have usually been in person once a year, and they're very exciting, intimate encounters because when you go on an online webinar with Portal to Ascension, the chat room is very full. You get to know each other. And so we have a very active community. And so just the heart opening of being all together with some of your favorite speakers, with me, with other speakers that you've known, and a tribe of really excited people, just excited to wake up.
Okay.
So
So you,
that's what happened in those kinds of events.
yeah.
I do a lot of events with them and speak with them.
Fantastic, fantastic. We've talked and touched upon past experiences where you're hearing, where your eyes are shut, you're seeing that way. Can you share a time at any level, at any point in your life, where you had a more physical encounter? It might be seeing at a distance, a stranger with sparkly eyes told you something fantastic. Can you share with us a story that left a really good impression on you and you were like, wow, this is always bigger than I think it is, but I needed that boost. Can you give us an example of that so that we get one of those stories in?
Well, I have a whole lot of angel stories. I'm going to share a short one and then a bit juicier one. I was laying on the deck at my sister's house. She lived right in Oceanside, right overlooking the water, and so you could hear the ocean. And I'm alone. It's probably 10 o'clock at night, clouds up above, fog, a lot of fog. And I'm just drifting, night dreaming. And I feel something on my cheek like this. Did you feel that? It was a hand, just like that. And I'm alone on the deck. So I open my eyes and I look up, and there is a cloud, swear to God, about 15 feet above. And all I could see are the most gorgeous lips in the world and a face, my Archangel Michael. The most gorgeous eyes and the most gorgeous lips. And I knew it was Archangel Michael that had stroked my face to look at him. I was blown away. Just even telling you, okay, when I just did this, I could feel it. I bet everyone out there could feel it. And so that was a personal encounter, which did rock my soul. But I had a really interesting, I want to share this. We have a couple minutes left. So I wanted to be on Coast to Coast. That's George Norrie's show. And I really had been visualizing myself for years being on Coast to Coast. I should be on Coast to Coast. And every year I'd go to a conference and give George one of my books or my cards, or I just was tired of that. And I go to the conference this week. It's Conscious Life Expo. I work there. I introduce speakers, and I go, I don't know. I'm going to get on George Norrie. I just know it this weekend. Something's going to happen. I'm not going to throw myself on the ground though and crawl. No, I'm just something's going to happen good. I go through the whole weekend. It's Sunday. People are checking out. And I get in the elevator to go up, and there is Tom, George's booking agent, George's producer. And I said, "Oh, Tom, he kind of recognized me. Hi, Tom." And I said, "You're going to have me on your show one day." And I think I even threw my card at him. And I get off the elevator, or he gets off, and I go, "Oh, Tom, you are an idiot. What an idiot. That's pathetic." I go to my room, and I'm just torn apart, pathetic. Well, I'm in my room 20 minutes and I have to go introduce another speaker, right? I get in the elevator, there's Tom. And he says to me, "Well, who did you speak to?" Because you could see this was ruminating in his mind. "Who did you speak to about being on the show?" Because there's another producer. I said, "Oh, no one, just you, whenever I see you." And he gives me his card. He says, "Call me." He says, "Call me Thursday." And I just was really excited, right? So Thursday comes and I call him. He says, "Why are you calling me?" I said, "Well, you gave me your card." He said, "Oh, yes, right. Call me next week, next Thursday." I said, "Okay." Next Thursday, I call him, and he said, "Oh, I took the day off. I'm driving around with friends." "Okay, call me next week." He says, "Call me next week." Next week comes, and I get this voice that says, "Call him at 6." So, I'm getting ready, call him at 6. At 6 o'clock, I hear a voice that says, "Don't call him till 7. Okay. I be honest, I'm relieved. Don't call until 7. So at 7 o'clock, I somehow, I don't know, I heard this voice and I started screaming around the house. I live alone. I'm on George Norrie. I'm on George Norrie. I'm on George Norrie. I'm screaming it in the house. I pick up the phone and I call Tom. Tom starts in like, why are you calling? And then he stops. He says, you know, Joan, I was almost in an accident an hour ago. It's 6 o'clock. He said, I was in my car and I was driving and suddenly there's a woman in a wheelchair in front of me and I'm about to hit her, about to take both of our lives out. He said, and an angel came between us, saved our lives. I have chills as I'm telling you this. So he tells me this story. Remember, he didn't even remember it when I called him, right? And he said, wait a moment. Now, this was like my chiropractic days. I could hear him looking through an appointment book, even though it was all online. I could hear it. I knew he was going to book me. And he says to me, well, I have to tell you, we're going to put you on the show, but you're not going to be speaking to George. I said, oh, that's okay. I knew I was, my guide said, you've got this. You're speaking to George. And that's how an angel got me on the George Norrie show.
I love it. Hey, and just back up a little bit for folks, because not everybody knows about Coast to Coast. Tell us what it is. Tell us, they've been around a long time. They've got, what is it? Thousands upon thousands of hours of content. But if you could just paint that picture for the viewer, the listener, if they happen to be driving right now, but they're not aware of the show. Not everybody knows what it is. Let's do a quick ad for them for 20 seconds.
Okay. George Norrie is the Oprah Winfrey of the consciousness, ascension, UFO, conspiracy world, period. He is the Oprah. Everyone goes through that. I had something like 10,000 hits on my website that night.
So big audiences.
Big audience. But it's a big thing to say I've been on George Norrie. It's like, it's another notch up of that. And George is very fascinating anyway. So it's a great show. If you haven't heard it, it's 10 o'clock Pacific. But the point of the story was that, and after that, I had a landline only so that I could use it for radio shows. And Tom was the only person who had that number. And he did. I kept that number because he called me one night to invite me to do something else. And so I kept the number just for Tom.
That's funny. Okay. So why don't we do this? Why don't I light some sage and blow some smoke to you? It's something we do on the show. It's something we did before the show today. I've done this for a lot of folks. I think I was a guest on maybe 26 shows last year, but 20 of them at least, I blew sage smoke through the computer screens. For the person who's never heard of this before, just allow for it. There's no time and space quite the way we are thinking. It's a little bit like what Joan was talking before about one of the topics. I mean, Einstein talked very much about one of the topics earlier. It might have been consciousness or just the synchronicity of stuff. I think Einstein talked about synchronicity not being accidents at all. This is one of those moments where if you just allow, some people start to smell the sage as I'm just lighting it. Others taste it in their mouth. I'm going to take a red-tailed hawk feather and blow it through the screen. You see a little bit of smoke, just allow. And if Joan, you can just let us know what you're smelling, tasting. And are you getting it?
Well, so funny, Michael, because I love the smell and I can sort of, I don't know if it's my mind smelling it or my beingness smelling it, but I'm feeling saturated with this beautiful kind of Palo Santo type sage.
Cool.
So I just can, but I think it's partly both in my energy field, but I don't care.
And I'm just going to stub this out so I don't smoke out the room here. Now, for anybody who is still wrapping their head around it, it's not about the thinking part or grasping this. Just be in your heart, allow. Back the video up a little bit. Give yourself permission to let go. Your heart already knows what to do. And so if you need a one-liner, setting your intent, here it is. Use angels. They're around you. They're within you. 100% available 24/7. Tapping them twice a month could be a lot for all of us. Just ask angels to get you out of your head into your heart. Make it nice. Help you smell the sage smoke. Amen. Rock and roll. Thank you. If you need to put your hand on your heart and do it, make it like a Boy Scout pledge, Girl Scout pledge, whatever that's called. And just allow, see what happens. If you have to do a chubby checker, Elvis Presley, your hips, do something, rub your hands in a circle, do this, be the finger painting kid, but don't finger paint your walls to break structure here. Do something. They talk about the inhale for 2 seconds, 4 seconds, exhale. So exhale like a whale once, get rid of any of the stress, resistance, thinking, what am I doing here? I'm not sure I can do this type doubt, and just allow and play it again. Because on the shows last year, what I was trying to mention was if there were 20 shows last year, it wasn't just two hosts or a host. It was the producer, it was audience members, and even like months later, typing, oh my God, I got the strong scent of sage. Now, once in a while, you get the person who types, I can't get it yet, I'm working on it. But I can think of one person who recently could feel the touch of an angel, but couldn't get the sage done. So to me, feeling an angel is a bigger deal than sage. But there's no real hierarchy, structure, order. Letting go is letting go. And I would just add, having fun is having fun. How about that? Let's have some more fun, Joan. I'm going to put some angel photos up. The very first angel, and you've done this before, is Joy, the emotion Joy, a high, peppy voice. And if you don't mind, just grab an answer privately for yourself right now, something fun for you. Just be like, Joy, what do I need to know in this moment? Get an answer, get a hug. And then if you could ask the audience for a lead, she's talking about something, you're hearing something, share with us what you're getting via Joy the angel.
She says, just let go. There's more joy available, unlimited.
I like it. And if with no photo, just let's do a reminder that you don't need a photo. You don't need any particular type of structure. You don't have to go to Machu Picchu. You can just ask for it directly. Joan, do you mind just asking Joy to come in and whoosh you or a couple more words or something, and then tell us what happened?
So when you said that, I could feel my heart sing. So for me, I know I'm joyful when my heart sings, and actually literally sings. And so Joy just came in and said, well, tell everyone that, does it make your heart sing?
I like it. Okay, there's a Charlotte, one of my business managers. She's fun. She's a teacher. If you're in Canada, it's from third form. You know, when you were little, think of Mrs. Johansson, whoever was the super nice teacher, that's her. She's here with words meant to help us expand. If it's America, think your fourth grade teacher, Mrs. Wilson, whoever. Don't pick a bad teacher. Let's have you ask Charlotte. If you want to keep it private, keep it private. But if you'd love to share, please share, Joan.
What am I asking her?
Oh, just anything. Hey, what have you got for the audience, for me? I'm sure she can do both.
Okay, well, I actually see my fourth grade teacher when I see that, and I see her in the front kind of handing out gifts. So, you know, gifts, intuitive knowledge. Charlotte.
Ooh, and with Charlotte, she's got an ancient Egypt background. No time to get into that right now, but why don't we have you tap into her and do a little ancient Egypt together, and even with your eyes closed, catch an incense that you would never be able to buy through Amazon or any store currently around. But let her do her job. If you don't mind leaving your eyes on her for just a few seconds before you close your eyes, let her take you to ancient Egypt. This is a specialty of hers, and I'm glad I remembered this. But she'll bring you some amazing incense or smells.
Whoa, she is showing me. First I thought it was rose, but then it's kind of like that flower at night, like a jasmine.
Yep.
But very sophisticated kind of combos of jasmine, orchids, and rose smell, all wrapped up in one. Very pungent.
And I'm going to try to just plant one more seed here, and forgive me for this, but angels have all sorts of roles, responsibilities, fun, skills, character, voices, personality. They'll do it for you just so that you can relate better and get the message better. When it comes to ancient Egypt, how do I do this? I'll go out on thin ice a little and just say this. She maybe helped bring a little more compassion back in the day. So let's have you have a woman-to-woman chat about more compassion in the ancient Egypt days, and just hear a little about that so you go, huh.
So she's reminding me that in the Egyptian days, the values most treasured in the society were balance and harmony. Whatever one could do to be kind to oneself, as in compassion, or to be kind to another, was highly valued in the society, and it was structured and through the ceremonies to bring that sense of peace and harmony. And as I'm looking at you, Michael, I'm sort of seeing that black triangle over your head. Suddenly, like you shapeshifted into some kind of professor of magic. I don't know what, but you looked like a professor with these two stars there. And like there you were in the university teaching this stuff. It was so interesting. Just
Okay,
went like that.
I love it. Min is the next angel. She's very soft-spoken, professorial. She's light waves of energy and water. This is a full-on silhouette. If you look at the book cover, and we need to mention your books later, if we look at the book cover, Listening to Angels, it's a metallic ball of light, and these two are in a different form or shape. So I guess the message I'm saying is there's no one way about the photographs either. I mean, fairies can show up 7 different ways for breaking you in visually, and we're talking no photographs. You can see them as 14-year-olds, 10 houses down, popping out from a tree without wings, ball of light. It's a lot to take in if you're trying to grasp any of this, but you're already allowing the universe to be a little bigger than we typically allow. Then that's where I'm getting at with this. Here's a guardian angel, my guardian angel. Min is good enough, like Minnesota, the Lakota Sioux word for water. She can bring you the smell of the Red Sea, Indian Ocean, Pacific, but very soft spoken. So whatever is a great question for us all. Expansion for mankind ahead, the gentleness, less rat race thinking, more gentleness ahead. She would be a great one to have her just talk briefly about that.
You know, I can feel her in the woods, and I can feel her kind of beckoning us to go into our silence within is, I think, where she wants us to be, the silence within that you can hear when you're out in nature. So that's what I'm feeling from her.
And I'm going to bring, beautiful for that, I'm going to bring Archangel Michael for you a couple different ways. One photo straight on. And there's Archangel Michael. And if you want just 2 things we all could use a little bit better memory on, monthly, weekly, daily, just to keep in mind to walk a smoother path.
2 things Michael's telling me.
Yeah.
All right, he says, don't forget to fluff your wings and use your sword. And use that sword to cut away any negativity, low vibration, even cut away what we call miracle busters.
And miracles are in every moment. When you're in your heart, you'd be surprised what you'll discover. First, if it's the treasure map, the X on the map is you, your own heart, and that unique life path Joan referred to. Archangel, it says Gabriel, but it's really 4 archangels here. Gabriel, Michael, Raphael, Uriel. Go ahead and from the gang, not to put it that way, but hear what you would like to hear in terms of some stuff. And if you could deliver that to us, that'd be fantastic. And get a couple big hugs if you would.
So, you know, when they expanded into full-fledged beings, and I feel like they're toasting us. I feel like we're having a goblet of celestial wine, toasting us to, like, as good fellows, and to remember, you know, that we're part of this group.
Beautiful. Claire is an angel who's all about resilience. So I didn't have her on the dance card, but I do now. Given, you know, you don't have to have the most turbulent times in the past to appreciate Claire and resilience. Resilience could be for the athlete. It could be just for your photography practice to hang in there and to have enough guts to go get your stuff into a gallery, to take the chance. But here's Claire. If you don't mind using the photo for a second, you can even put your hand out and feel the energy. By doing this, you're showing others that it's possible. Put your hand out and feel for the audience on your fingertips, on your palms. But people have felt sparkles on their toes. You could be so focused on your hand that the angel comes in on your back. Or it's juggling 3 balls at once. You're getting a whoosh down your back, your toes get sparkly, and fingertips and palm. There's no one way. And that's Claire, an angel who's resilience.
Well, she's also reminding me Claire is short for clarity. Claire is short for clairaudience, clairsentience, clair knowing, and clair instantaneous recognition, which we don't have a word for, but that's all those sparkles that you feel.
Ooh, eureka. We'll call it eureka moment. Plato, because we talked the past, ancient history and professorialship, to make up a word maybe. Here's Plato's photo, and you can see an old man's face in there. Can you see the mug?
Yes, you can.
Yeah. Now,
Oh,
no hugs for him. A fist pump or a tap on the shoulder because they're sweaty if you get a hug. I'm so pro hugs. One hug's worth 100 questions, 100 words. The record, by the way, 9 hours, 49 pages by an Australian who was fantastic. I only checked in every 2 hours. But how fast can you write? You can get any details, any answers. Plato is so crystal clear on life paths, life stages, just trusting your heart more. Joan, can you share some amazing advice that taps right into the way you're already wired and what you're telling all of us to begin with? But what's Plato got for us all as a little reminder?
well, believe it or not, he says, stop being such a doubting Thomas. I'm Plato.
Good. And then a fairy for you, because I know you love fairies. This is Ginger. If you want to think a responsible 14-year-old, and wow, there's a lot of light on her wings today.
Look at that.
Yeah, so you can hear a wee. If you thought Joy had a high-pitched voice, anybody out there who wants to see a little bit of, she's silver glitter, or you know those 4th of July sparklers that are 12 inches long that kids can hold 4th of July? Think of the silver flecks of light, like fish breaking the surface of the water. If you want to look up in your room, take a breather on this, 2 breaths in, exhale like a whale, put your hand on your heart. If you have to ask angels to get you out of your head into your heart to allow for this, let Ginger do her job. Look up where the ceiling meets the wall. Leave your eyes in one spot. Is it American baseball, the batter's box, that square? Just leave your eyes in one spot. Don't look for it. This is the Zen thing, seeing without seeing. Let her show up as little flecks of light. You're only going to last 1/10 of a second, but if you're a pro, 4 seconds. If you're really good, hang in there and have a 2-way chat. Allow for a little bit of light, but then you'll hear a high-pitched voice, and she's fairies, you can't pigeonhole them. If you're an astrophysicist wanting to get your formula done, they can still help with your formula. And it doesn't have to be about gardens and flowers. It's no one way. They give perfectly good answers for anything. So tap them as well. Joan, what have you got for us? What are you experiencing? And ask her to bring you either a floral smell or, I don't know, ask for something exotic that you're just like, oh my God, that made my day.
Well, I saw or see an energy that's formed up in the corner of the room up there. Nice feeling energy. She's sending me sprinkles just so I know I can.
Now, with your permission, I have 3 very tactical and practical unconditional love spirit guides. Native American chiefs. They've been around the block. Dull Knife, Red Shirt, Geronimo. Dull Knife is wisdom with some humor. Red Shirt's the gentlest mom in the world, biggest heart in the world, gentlest advice. If anybody's been through a divorce, health crisis, difficulties, they always gravitate to him. And then Geronimo can steal the show. You'd think angels would do it, but he's so wily, like a Zen master, action, lightning, dry wit, humor. He's pretty entertaining. The first 2, Dull Knife and Red Shirt. Dull Knife, Red Shirt, very proper, very formal, yes, no. If you want, Joan, get something from Dull Knife right here. And you can catch a Native American smell, one of those 40 smells. Cedar, sweetgrass, sage, desert pinon, juniper, Douglas fir. You get the idea. Tobacco. And what have you got from Dull Knife?
I don't know. I kind of see, I sort of feel like we're sitting around a fire. I'm smelling the fire. I'm seeing the sky. And it's like, trust your memories, trust your memories.
Okay. And then Red Shirt, he's wearing a U.S. presidential medal. And the day after this photo was taken, he and Geronimo were on horseback, Pennsylvania Ave. I don't know if it was Teddy Roosevelt, one of the presidents, a parade. But he is so soft and gentle. He's compassion, but he just speaks so softly and to the point.
Yes. He tried to bring the Indian Native American wisdom to Washington. That's what he told me.
And last but not least, Geronimo, but you'll get a couple photos of him. You'll get young Geronimo, pure action. And, if I pour a little coffee for him in the morning in a demi-tasse, I'll hear fill her up, bub. He can do 1950s talk, 1930s talk. If anybody remembers the Bowery Boys, He'll find a way to keep you on your toes. So he's more like a wily Zen master, catches you off guard in a good way that propels you towards action so you don't settle. And, if you're supposed to be doing something, that photographer is supposed to hang stuff in their galleries 5 years ago. You keep telling yourself, I really, really will next year. And your cousins have told you every week they see you, they're like, you should get your stuff in galleries. I know, I really should. One of the top 10 ego lines of all time, or my problem is. So he's all about following your unique life path and getting started now in this moment. And here's Geronimo, like a laser. He's not bashful. We'll put it that way.
No, he's not. I don't want to say what he said to me.
Oh, he can curse. So massage it a little.
Or get off the pot.
Oh, and that's what when he first cursed a couple times, this is like 8 or 9 years ago, I thought, oh my God, I'm out of business. Well, I'm on a deck, Iron Cactus, Austin, Texas. Second story, has this beautiful outdoor deck. It wasn't a very busy time on 6th Street down there. Had a old friend of a friend. So I've known the person for 20 years. They're in town for a convention. I'll just try to keep this as abstract as possible. They have a friend who's got a diagnosis, an illness that means they're checking out at some point. I don't know any of this. She comes back bawling. She's been talking to Geronimo, and that's normally not what happens here. This is Angels, unconditional love guides. You can meet your relatives. It's supposed to be happy and uplifting, and you get some messages. She comes back with, I just got told by Geronimo to prepare for death. Now, I don't know that she's talking about the friend who has the diagnosis. I think she's been told her own death. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm out of business again before I've even gotten started. This is like 10 years ago. But it turns out, the person has like stage, so sorry if I don't get this right, like stage 5, stage 3, leukemia or something. So it's legit. So I had her go back for 20 minutes and just chat to get it clarified, to get the tears cleaned up so she could see the bigger picture, because you have certain life stages that are just part of your plan. So here's older Geronimo, who is like a kitten. If he was a tiger in the last photo, here he is. And Joan, please enjoy this one as a big thank you for being on today.
Wow.
What are you getting for us all?
Like he knows it all. He knows the truth. He knows it all in one big breath, past, present, consciousness. That's how I feel when I see that.
Cool. And how about one little reminder that we can all use every day just to live more and love more, be in the heart more action, less thinking? How about something along those lines from him that'll make you laugh too?
He's got a twinkle in his eye.
Good enough.
Smile.
Good enough. I did promise you, Mary, if you'll give me a second, I use this one as sort of an abstract. When I talk Big Mary, tight with angels, lots of rainbow light. The only thing I have to add here, because I'm no expert on this, is just compassion, compassion, compassion. But I have a beautiful photo for you I'd love to put up. And if you don't mind.
I'm just going to tell you something before you do the photo. I feel like I've been on an interview to get to the celestial levels. It's like, oh, here's my test, my big interview. We got to pass it.
Oh, you're good. But here's what I use for Mary. If you can allow for a little bit of rainbow glitter around your eyes and stuff, like just see a little extra compassion coming in to say, thank you, we love you. And feel what you feel in this. Just have fun. Think, what's ahead.
Humans have struggled for lifetimes. But this is the time, she's telling me, that there's a ascension on the horizon. So I feel like she's looking into the distance and kind of taking you there.
Okay, and do us a favor. I've heard the word ascension forever, but if a different show host, because you host your own show, and you have so many sub segments on your channel, so it's youtube.com/@Joan of Angels to find her stuff. She's got Miracle Mondays. She's got a regular show. She co-hosts or has a lot of guests on and does co-hosting with Alan Steinfeld, for example. She has her own guests as well. It goes on and on and on. There's a lot of content there. But let's say we had to define ascension again 6 different ways. There may be people coming on, they're like, oh, whoa, that's an intimidating term for me. I'm not sure about that word ascension. Can you talk to us more about that process of just letting go and getting to here?
So, ascension is the process of letting go, letting your consciousness or your heaviness go, your frequency of worry, doubt, and fear, which I call 3D reality life, but letting that go as you allow your consciousness to take off, or as you allow an expansion of who you are, what you're capable of being. So, an ascension is a way of raising your vibratory frequency to a higher level as you walk around the planet. So, even just fluffing your wings is part of that ascension process. It makes you feel like you can lift off. Okay, lift off. You can get out of your everyday routine. You could actually be greater than yourself. You can be that fifth dimensional angelic frequency that you are in a 3D body. And when you do that, it's an art form. You can go out in the world and it's blowing up around you, and people wonder why you're calm. Well, you're calm because you're seeing the big from a different level. You're seeing the big picture. You understand. You see the players. You see where you fit in. You see where you belong. Ascension is a chance to really get into where you want to be, to get into higher frequencies, to see more, to connect with your guides, to connect with extraterrestrials. It's a chance to be in a playing field that's beyond Earth. A higher playing field. More can happen. It's the world of miracles and synchronicities.
Oh, I love it. I love it. Okay. Tell us more about, you mentioned books, and we did not mention books on the show. Is there a book you'd like to highlight out of your material that people can check out? Or is there an author out there that you always still go back to today that's one of your favorites? In either situation, what book would you like to mention to us?
Well, that's so funny. I was going to mention my book, um, which is all about how the Miracle Makers Club and how my kids and I create miracles. But then, what's his name came to me? Oh, well, of course, now I used to play tennis every week, very famous. He died. God,
Wayne Dyer.
thank you very much. I wish you could just pick up the name from me. Wayne Dyer. I used to play tennis with Wayne every Monday night. And he was just releasing his very first book. He was a PhD professor around the Department of Psychology at University in Brooklyn. I applied to get in to study with him. I never forget. I did get accepted. But every Monday I'd play tennis with Wayne Dyer. And the thing I can share most about that is that he had just released his new book, or he was about to release it. He had it in the trunk of his car. He was traveling around the country to sell it. It was all about looking at your relationships and to see whether the child in you came out, the adult, or the one in fear, or the judgment. So he would advise me all the time. And the advice he would give is just what he lived with. It's like, just forget all that. Stop worrying about it and be true to who you are. And I would be in the car going, oh God, I blew the serve and look what a klutz I am. And he would just stop all conversation, shut me down, and put me on a higher track and remind me of my words. Your words have power. Every time you stroke, it's an opportunity for a better one. And he would help me reframe everything in my life. So that's what I'm going to say. Reframe it. Reframe it. Everything that you thought made you a victim, because I was a victim on that tennis court with Wayne Dyer, it's like, God, I hope he's not in heaven thinking of that about Joan. But I was so fearful of everything, and honestly, none of it matters. What matters is that you be true to you and you show up and you shake off all of the crap that you've brought in with all the limiting beliefs, and you begin to get that you've been acting out a movie script that isn't the one you really want to be in anymore. It's the one you took to get to whatever age you are. That was a great movie script. It got you to get to 50. And now it's time to look at that movie script and go, oh God, victim again? Like, no, and rip it up and reshape it. That's what he taught me. And that's what I'm going to share with you.
Each moment, each tennis stroke is your opportunity to open the door in your heart to greater awareness, greater reality, greater living, greater loving, greater just
right.
Life.
And would you kindly stop torturing yourself? People don't want to hear what a lousy tennis player and how you blew it, or how fat you are, or you have a bad hair day. They don't want to know.
Hey, now I'm going to have to add something that's a little off track, but if you're playing tennis, you can ask Joy to come into your bubble of light. If you want a simple way to view this, everything's energy. You're a bundle of energy, flows of energy, stick to the positive, higher vibration. Great. But when you're on a tennis court, if you're either semi-athlete to a good athlete, you know you're on when you're on, and you can't hit a tennis ball when you're off. You had a bad day and you can't get anything to go right on the court. Ask her to jump into your ball of light. This isn't to win tournaments, but hit a couple winners. Practice. That's what I was trying to get to, is sports, cooking, yoga, reading mystery books. You sit in your chair and take a time out. You're a hardcore lawyer overworking 200 hours a week, which it's not going to be that high, but you do.
That's not high.
Yeah, that's high. It's 140 maybe, I think is right. I forgot. I used to work at law firms as a publicist, but the point of this is you're tapping into the flow, artistic, cooking, sports, athletic, nature, going for walks. You're not going to give yourself credit for it. What Wayne said, what Joan's telling us, that being in your heart and getting past thinking, the limiting curtain of unconsciousness, which is a global slipstream of unconsciousness. There's lots of brighter consciousness in and around you. I had to mention with Wayne Dyer, Bass Hall, UT, University of Texas, Austin, the main campus. They've got a Bass Hall, if I said it correctly. He gave a speech there up on stage. He was fantastic. I really was very fortunate. Got just, right time, right place. I was paying attention, bought a ticket, got to see him, and he was walking up and down. He was thanking us all for his Maui condo, his home, because I guess all the book sales paid for that. He was living there, but he still did his morning swimming. He was getting up there. I think he passed a couple of years later. I just felt very fortunate to see him. But I still remember, and I misattributed a quote to him. It was really Einstein who said this, but I was searching forever just a few weeks ago. The consciousness that thinks that there's limited reality, that what's going on, or my problem is, or this situation, this drama, is not the same consciousness that gets you past it, or to help you, live more, breathe more, be happier more. That was Einstein who said that, but I was looking so hard at Wayne Dyer quotes, and I'm like, where is it? I know he said it, and it was Einstein who said that. I always think that Einstein and Wayne Dyer actually have a little more in common than at first glance we would give them credit for. They were both pretty plugged in.
And they both would tell you that they got their wisdom from some kind of channel, like being a radio antenna. The greatest inventors will tell you, Graham Bell, he was told, he downloaded it. It's like we are radio antennas. All we have to do is put that antenna up, and the information and wisdom will come through. Even in those pictures you're showing, which is just angles of light, energies, there's wisdom.
Oh, I love it.
Wisdom.
And a reminder to folks, they can take a nap, but setting your intention, don't put pressure on yourself to call it meditation, lucid dreaming, anything like that. Just grab your stuffed animals, your pillows, your favorite music. There's no one way to do it. Go sit in some sunlight on the lawn. Make sure you don't get burned. We're not suggesting that. But get out of what you know long enough to let the universe do its job. Angels, light beings, and so on. So it's a much bigger reality, and it's baby steps is fine. Little baby steps. Joan, tell us one last little thing about baby steps here, not putting any pressure on yourself. It doesn't have to be any one way, but get started is how I would put it. But what advice are you going to tell us about just getting with the program of living more?
So, my guides gave me a really clear message a while ago, which is that just say yes to one thing. That's all you have to do. Say yes to one thing that we're telling you, like, I don't know, take a walk every day. If you take a walk every day, then we'll give you the next step. Period. End of discussion. Don't worry about it. When you're ready, you'll take a walk. You'll discover that you hear a voice, or you smell something, or you meet someone, and it takes you to the next step. It's all a matter of steps. One step leads to the other. My yes has led me to Egypt, and beyond. So it's your yes.
Okay, that's inspiring. That's like totally inspiring. And it may not be the voice. It just maybe you get that pull or the tug or the inspiration or whatever you called, a Thomas Magnum in the 80s, that show that everybody liked, Tom Selleck in Hawaii. He had that little voice. And the more you listen to it, the more you got the case solved or good stuff happened. So Do you mind recircling back any which way you want, but repackage what you just said? It was so on point, and I thought it was amazing. People can hear it again.
You know, yes, thank you, bring me more. That is probably the best few little sentences you could say. Thank you, bring me more. Thank you, bring me more. Yes, I'm ready. Yes, I'm ready. You know, because everything they do is to bring you to that moment of saying, yes, I'm ready. And as humans, we like, well, I don't know about you guys, but I like to cling. Okay, I cling. You've got to take a shovel to get me off of it. And that of course is our downfall, because then we put blinders on. It's like, oh, it's too much, it's too scary. But your guides and angels show you one step. Do you think Michael got all this at once? Well, he did get a lot of it at once, because that's how they have to talk to Michael, because he's a big personality. But for a lot of us, it's one little thing at a time, and then it brings you to the next. Look, they told me paint 33 angels. They would not tell me what to do with it. Then I painted it. They said, put them up on the wall. I put them up on the wall. Book falls off the bookshelf because they were on the wall. Book says, your call for angelic assistance has been heard. Now notice there's a step. It was like, oh, they're actually listening. Hot stuff. Next book that falls off, your call for, what was it? To be one of the chosen ones, you must choose. I said, oh, darn it. I have to choose. And then they said, paint us and we will come. I said, well, am I supposed to paint again? Paint us and we will come. Who will come? Paint us and we'll come. Then you'll know. Like they know that if they tell me too much, Michael, I'll run. I'll get scared. I'll go in my human self. Like, that's just too much. No, you can't expect me to give up my home and travel around the world. No. They just know that the human mind has limitations. So my guides, like I'm a little dog, Pavlovian dog, they go, good, we'll give her a little reward, and then we'll give her the next one, and then the next one. We have to be gentle with that one, because we know she could panic and run.
Yeah. The dog that doesn't want to go for a walk.
Right?
Yeah, it's a drag.
And trust me, when you see me in the live stream from Egypt, I'm going to be so happy and in my bliss. And you'll remind me, you'll say, Joan, remember when it was all over? Because you forget once you're in it. It's like childbirth. Once you have the baby, you really forget the pain. Honestly, the second that baby's born, you are in bliss. You just went from sheer agony to bliss in a second, in a way you would never have thought. And that's the same way with these connections, with these aha moments, with when you see your wings for the first time.
And the best I could do here isn't going to be the childbirth, although I was given to me one time about past lives that I died in childbirth, obviously female, with a sock in my mouth. Charlotte volunteered that. I don't have a setting or anything like that as any more background, but marathon running. Marathoners, runners, whether you just jog a little 5K, there's so much mental stuff. And when you get out of it and you get into your heart, that's when you actually enjoy running a little bit, listening to music, communing with nature, morning, evening, sunset, sunrises, other people. When you run in a bubble, there's an energy bubble. You suddenly can go twice the distance because you're chatting away and you've forgotten about the running. There's a greater 1 + 1 = 111 effect. But let's do marathon racing. When you cross that line, it can be pretty brutal after 18 miles. Some people are watching and saying, are you kidding? Just getting out my door is a long distance. But you get across the line, you have one of two reactions, like, oh my God, that was phenomenal, or I'll never do this again. And what happens is you get the fever in running all the time. You're watching just your town. You live in Austin, Texas. There's the Austin Marathon. 2 years go by and you're watching it and you get the fever again. You never wanted to run a race again. You did the marathon. It was ridiculous. And I always just say half marathon is plenty. 5K is plenty. Don't judge marathons here and don't necessarily feel like you got to do one, but you get the fever.
I'm not.
Yeah, you're cheerleading people going by. You pick up on the energy and you've said, I'll never run one again. And the next thing you know, you're training for one because you got the fever. There's always more to living around you, within you. You can always do much more than you'd ever allow for if you stuck strictly to what you think you know and pen and paper. I'm suggesting tap the universe, tap angels, put your dreams out there for a little bit of adjusting, get a reminder that you should be dreaming bigger, and then bring it forward. And get the universe, get angels, light beings, get your relatives. We never mentioned ancestors much today. get them to help guide you. And I know lots of guests this year on Angels, Positivity, and Love. That's what you're listening to here with us. This year, they've mentioned about, don't worry so much about the how and how to get to point B. You're at point A. Let the universe show you those stepping stones. Can you talk to us about you're not alone when it comes to, we've talked about angels, we've mentioned light beings briefly. Can you mention that our relatives are with us, and any specifics there for us?
So yeah, your relatives are there. And I once did a reading for a 21-year-old kid, and he had just changed his major from music to accounting. And while I'm sitting with him, I see his ancestors on the other side. He was Korean. I see this room full of Koreans, and they're walking around with a beard, long beard, and they're going, "Oh, young such and such made good decision." And then you see a whole other group, those were more the musicians. They were a little bit more unhappy. He's sacrificing, but they were on the other side, supporting him and making his decisions and remembering who he was. And I've seen that a couple of times, that the people on the other side supporting, like one of my friends who just finished his movie that he was making, they was like drinking. They were getting drunk on the other side, happy about it, like celebrating the accomplishments of what we as humans are doing as their descendants.
Oh, I love it. Hey, both my parents have passed over. When I was 2 in 1970, I just turned 55, February 24th. And then when I was turning 23, my mom passed over, an artist, petite, and some of the stuff you were talking about with the artwork, it cracked me up. She used to say she'd never do human faces because that was her thing. She would get stuck on the human face. She loved nature art and drawing those. Here's a photo of them if you want. Hundreds of people have met them and seen them. That's Barb, 5'4" artist, and Mike Sr., 6'1", Michael Andre Ford Sr. And if you want, they're reconciled, they're unconditional love. Just think of them as guides. But you'll get anything you need for anything ahead or for the audience if you want.
I just feel a lot of bliss, like just a lot of pure. She looked like such a child, such innocence coming from her.
And I always have them up on the shelf right here. So, okay, let's do this. Let's recap. You were in Mexico, and are you going back to Mexico at any point, or now it's Sedona and
No, I'll be
Europe?
in Mexico next year, probably in December. I already heard about a conference, and I'll probably spend December, January in Mexico. Like, yeah, I don't know. I was trying to figure out when I'm going to settle down, but perhaps I'm too young to settle down, guys.
Yeah, I like that. Good answer. Good answer. Is there any other area we've forgotten? Are you still mulling a certain type of project in the future? Something that you can mention? Here's Joy just to help. I'll buy you a little bit of time. Something that we either skipped, a story you want to recount, a book you've been mulling forever, you want to do something with your art. What are we not covering still? There's always one more thing. What's the one more thing?
Well, my art is undergoing a major rehaul in terms of getting it up on a website and actually making it available for people to have in their home. But I do one thing that most people don't know about, and I do the soul essence work. And that's a deep dive into who you are, why you're here. And then after that session, I do a deep dive with some pictures of yours. And what comes through is really your soul essence that your higher self wants you to see. And so they want you to know who you are. So that's a secret thing that I'm doing. You only would know about it if you were listening to this and heard about it. You could reach out to me for something like that too. But I do a lot of work fluffing people's wings and as a spiritual advisor to help you realize you are on the right path. You do know who you are. You do have a mission, and you're at the most perfect place at the most perfect time. So trust that.
And you're not shy either. So if they can reach out to you, and obviously it's going to resonate when it resonates, and the right person at the right time reaches out to you, then it's like that. So bravo. One last little exercise, and this is only with the highest intent, compassion and love, with angels really doing everything and me checking out, my higher self only. I'm going to put my hand up if you want to put your hand up and do the same thing, only your highest self and everything else. But if you want to feel any energy through the screen, I am going to at some point pull away when we're done feeling each other. And you'll give the audience being bubbled up as well so that you're not catching their energy a year from now, but they'll be able to go and feel your energy through the screen. And why don't we pull your hand back towards you so we don't have you set. There we go. They can see you as well. First, catch my energy, and I'll try to go on an old surf trip. And what are you getting, Joan?
Well, you said surf, so I saw waves. Sorry.
Oh, no, you're good. You're good. So you're feeling something, though.
Well, I am, and I do this a lot with receiving and sending energy. So I have not had anyone on Zoom send me energy before.
And then with your permission, I'll pull back, but can you leave your hands up so that people can connect and get inspired? And then those who are going to be so inclined will reach out. But this is giving a person a unique experience. They can put their hand up. They really have to just tune out. It would be like if you're wine tasting, you're sipping the wine and actually figuring out those sub ingredients. Now, that's a lot for me. But if you're an artist, you know how to like read the art history behind the painting. There's a little subtlety to this, but plenty of people can do it. It's just listening without listening, the Zen thing.
You know, I'm going to do something a little different. And some of you might feel this. If you hold up your left hand, guys, and watch, I am sending energy. See if you feel a little tingling on your left hand, or this plate with energy. Because I feel it. Yeah.
Beautiful way to wrap this up. I'd like to thank Joan of Angels, no longer in Mexico, but to be in Mexico most likely a year from now, end of the year, on our way to, it was Scotland, if I said it correctly, but also twice in Egypt, also Europe. Artist, spiritual advisor, will help you out with your current situation in life. Don't be shy. Beautiful story about Wayne Dyer. Thank you for that. That was a lot of fun. Wasn't expecting that at all. Hearing about the tennis and everything else. Any last bit of advice? You've seen a lot, done a lot, been through a lot. What's your final little tidbit for us all?
We get to play here on planet Earth. When we really do what Michael's doing and you sit back and you realize it's a film, you're the main character. When you start to see your life in that way, it becomes a whole lot more fun. When you take your angst out and your self-criticism and your judgment, about yourself, because no one is looking at you like you look at yourself, and you just watch, then you can actually say, we're ready for a new game, and you point yourself in a new direction. You create a scene with new people like I did with Sedona. And before you know it, you can make those changes, but you do it gentle, really self-love. All of this is the more you love yourself, the more you're going to listen to that voice inside and follow directions. And you already know what to do. It's the thing you're resisting the most.
Well put. I love it.
The other night I knew I needed healing, and I heard this voice said, go get those Arcturian bracelets and put them on your ankles. And I said, I'm almost asleep. That's too much work. And I didn't get up. And then I heard it again. And then I remembered that reading, like what happens to me when I don't listen. Okay. Heard it. Joan, don't you remember what happens when you don't listen? So I dragged myself out of bed and I put the bracelets on my ankle, got back in bed, and the Arcturians showed up. I saw them. And because I listened. And so I just say, remember all the times you didn't listen, when you just shrugged it off, you didn't pay attention, and things went on the same old, same old. If you're listening today, it's because you don't want the same old, same old. And the first step is to actually follow the instructions. They're still going to they're giving them to you 24/7. Do what Michael says, stop, listen, and go, oh, wait, maybe that's an instruction. Maybe that's an instruction. Instead of putting all this energy into resistance, because it takes a lot to resist and say no, just say, I'm gonna try it. I listened to that whole interview. I'm gonna try it.
I love it. Look, pay attention more. The big thing I've learned in 11 years now, a few thousand folks, lots of angels and other amazing stuff, is just where you put your focus is where you put your focus. You can be here, you could be up here. As soon as you learn sort of there's different wavelengths involved, not so fun, fun, unconditional love, unlove, unconsciousness, consciousness. Now, not all thinking's bad, but the point is you're in charge. The more you own it, the more you realize, holy cow, I'm wasting my energy by doing this, this, this. I could be having more fun. And I would just do one last little reminder, like love's the fabric of the universe. You're already love. When you're in your heart, you're bigger. I mean, Joan mentioned this a dozen times during the interview. Love's a constant. It never even faltered for a moment, but drama, big situations, little problems, your car getting a flat, everything will pull you out of it unless you can shift. And let's do Wayne Dyer. Unless you can shift your consciousness, your being, your perspective in that moment and go, maybe I'm supposed to pay attention more. And suddenly the thing you're looking at changes. We're definitely doing Wayne Dyer now. And that's the appreciating that each moment is your opportunity for growth, for more love. Joan's talked about this throughout the show today. Check out Joan's website, joanofangels.com. She's been a fantastic guest. I'd like to thank her for being on. Joan, thank you. Good luck with all the travels. Keep us posted.
This has been so much fun. Just so fun. We had you on the show in December, Alan and I, but so fun to be a guest on your show. And I do feel like you put me through like an advanced interview. Like, okay, let's see how far she's gotten as she ascends into the heavenly realms.
Well, you did fantastic. You kept us going in a lot of directions. And again, very excited to see all that comes of your travels ahead. And we'll be connecting next year, I'm sure.
We are going to stay in touch, Michael. I love your energy. I love your heart. I love that you're a Pisces, and you're out of the box. You have taken your work out of the box. It's uniquely Michael. You have fun on your interviews. I could see it. I'm sitting here going, what can I put my guests through? It's transformational for them.
Exactly. Okay. We'll sign off here. This has been Angels, Positivity, and Love. I want to thank Joan of Angels one more time. I'll mention her website one more time. Dr. Joan Hangarter. And I did get that right. Former chiropractor, but now more chiropractor of the soul. She's been a phenomenal guest doing phenomenal stuff today, to do a pun on it all. And she's been just fantastic to have on. So thank you very much, Joan.
I'm in my bliss. This has been a great interview. I don't know who was interviewing me. God was interviewing me, I think. It was a great, fun interview, Michael. And I'm honored to be on your show. I feel like you're just great with these angles of light and higher realms. And it's fun to just share this with you.
Well, thanks again, everybody. Until the next episode. This was Joan of Angels as the guest. This is your host, Michael Andre Ford in San Antonio, Texas. This was Angels, Positivity, and Love.